Hi, this is Steve Adams from Tiger Medical Institute, and welcome to the Tiger Medical Optimal Health Podcast. And today I have Rene Caruso with us. She is on a mission to help people break free from emotional eating and dieting behaviors for good. Having personally experienced the relentless cycle of food obsession, weight fluctuations, and self-doubt, Rene knows the toll it takes, both physically and emotionally. For over 30 years, she has immersed herself in the fields of nutrition, exercise, longevity, culinary arts, business, and biohacking. A former competitive natural bodybuilder, obstacle course racer, and distance cycling enthusiast, Rene blends her extensive experience with deep understanding of sustainable health. Rene helps men and women reclaim their energy, vitality, and confidence by guiding them to lose weight, boost energy, and optimize their health without restrictive dieting or extreme exercise. She believes aging isn't a disease and that everyone has the power to take control of their well-being. Her approach is rooted in responsibility, education, and empowerment. She dismantles misinformation about food, nutrition, and health, offering practical strategies for long-term transformation. While the journey requires effort and commitment, Rene provides the unwavering support needed to succeed. Rene, welcome.
Wow, thank you. I'm going to have you introduce me everywhere.
Well, I just believe in a really good introduction. You know, the team that helps you put this together, they do a great job of doing the research and setting me up so that I can do this properly when we're on like this. And so anyway, no, that's good. And, one of the things that I saw in there I really am interested in is breaking free from emotional eating and diet culture. Man, that is so prevalent. I have a daughter. I'm married to a woman for 38 years, and I've seen that. And so talk to us about that.
So I think one of the biggest challenges around anything that has to do with the catchphrase losing weight is that there's so much psychological baggage that goes with that for men and women. And I'd say more so women, but I'm not excluding men at all, and younger girls, where it's there all the time. And the weight of that can be debilitating in so many ways.
Culture really weighs heavy, doesn't it?
It does. And everything's so focused on lose 20 pounds, blank, 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 lose 40 pounds in blank, blank, blank. We don't want people to lose weight. We want them to shift fat mass so that they've got a healthy BMI. That's what's important, not the weight. And that's what I try to help people really, really understand. So we have to look at everything. How tall are you? How old are you? At my age now, my lean to fat ratio is still very good, but it's different as an older woman than it was when I was competing.
Sure.
And those things matter.
Yeah. Can you unpack that a little bit? Like why weight doesn't matter so much is that you really want to focus on the BMI and why BMI is important.
Yes, because there's a big difference between the sub-Q fat, that's the fat that people can see, like that beer belly.
Yep.
Or for women, what we tend to get, especially as we're starting to shift into change of our life, menopausal and everything, is we start to get fat in that weird area, like that weird back bra fat. We start to store it differently in the love handles. And then often women will get a little bit of what we call that estrogen belt around their middle. And no matter what they do, you're not going to exercise it off. And there's a whole variety of reasons, right? There's metabolic. But even more important to that, while we can see some of that, what we need to be concerned with is visceral fat. And that's the visceral fat around our organs. Is it crowding our organs? Do we have problems with our liver as a result? And understanding that mass ratio, I think, broadens the conversation around being overweight or not, because what we're looking at, we're starting to shift the idea that we need to look internally for a health standpoint, not just external.
Can I ask you then, is the BMI highly correlated then with excess? So as it goes up, you have your amount of internal visceral fat is also going up? Is that kind of a measure of that?
Not always.
Okay.
Not always, because, we've got SOFI, skinny on the outside, fat on the inside.
Yep.
We've got people. So much of it is still tied dietarily. And there are people who have a lot of sub-Q fat who still have a level of metabolic health that can surpass the SOFIs. Yeah. So that's one component where you've got to start to look at food. You've got to start to look at intake of, your food intake, your insulin levels. Are they actually active? How are they sleeping?
Yeah, right.
All sorts of things.
I know we've had hundreds of people go through the Tiger program, and so I think where it shows up especially is in the metabolic type testing. When someone is pre-diabetic or diabetic, they have insulin resistance, they have a high nominal score on their glucose, they're showing signs a little bit of potentially autoimmune, or their lipid markers aren't there. That's going to tell you, hey, you have a fat on the inside problem, fatty liver type measures. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Keep going. Sorry.
No, so that's part of that shift. It is really starting to get to understand their bodies and appreciate it more. And I use that approach the same way I approach food with clients. We weren't taught how our bodies work. People don't know. And our parents and grandparents, by and large, didn't have to worry about food. The food supply,
it wasn't so processed.
The food supply, wasn't what it is now. The lifestyle was very different. We were much more physically active outdoors. It was just a different time. All of those things. So I don't think it's just one thing. Food is a component of it, but there's lifestyle that's a big component of it. And all of that needs to be looked at to really help people kind of appreciate what is going on. What do we tackle first? What do we see as the most acute based on some of their blood work, as well as how they're feeling physically, to tackle so that we can actually start to move the marker, the ultimate goal being metabolic health long-term, because that's what's going to change pretty much drive everything as we're learning.
It does. Yeah, right. And that's what takes 85% of the people off the board too, is it's not rare stuff, it's metabolic disorders.
Yeah. So and unfortunately, I don't think, we don't, not being political in any way, shape, or form. We don't have a healthcare system. We have a sick care system.
Yep.
And the time it takes to dive into this a little bit, what makes it a challenge is we live in a culture, we want everything easy. Easy. Now, my food, my this. We're always going.
Shot every month and lose 25 pounds. Yep.
Yeah. And it takes a little time. If you're going to start understanding the food that you put in, you may have to source your food better. You may have to go to the grocery store more often. You may have to prepare your meals. But there's ways around all of this. I travel extensively, and I'm in airports a lot. I'm at conferences a lot. I don't have control of all the food that's put in front of me, but I do have control of what I put in my body.
Yep.
And it's just a strategy. It's just planning ahead.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. You obviously, we have seen with our own clinic, our own company, that visceral fat and weight can melt off naturally when it's done properly and approached properly, and it can stay off. And I know you do the same thing. And so, talk about sustainable weight loss and how that ties with natural energy improvement and all of that. Because I know that's part of what you do. So kind of unpack how you do that. So we've talked about, emotional eating and weight and all of that, and how you want, it's not weight, it's composition of the weight. Now talk about how you go into getting that improved energy and sustainable weight loss, because that's what people really want.
Yeah, it is. And when I start out working with a client, and we do the full intake on them, I learn about their lifestyle. Do they have kids? Are they on the go all the time? All of these things matter, because all of those are different levers we can push on. We know that there's basically 4 main levers we can address: exercise and movement, nutrition, sleep, right? So that's going to be the main levers that we can push. But inside of that, if we can start to look at one meal at a time. So I work with clients, and when we start, we literally address one meal at a time. I do not do meal plans at all, because it doesn't teach people how to put their food together. It's not a point system, and they're not on a diet anymore. Don't use the word diet at all. Now, if I'm working with a client who is more metabolically unhealthy and they're into type 2 diabetes and we're trying to reverse a condition, we may have more restrictive eating schedules for a period of time. But the goal is how they're going to eat then is still pretty similar to a new lifelong habits we're trying to instill. So to do that, there's so much emotion around food, because food is holidays and celebrations and birthdays and food reward systems. You skin your knee, you fall down, you get hurt. Mom blows on it, she repairs it, and she gives you a little treat, right? These are all things. So we've inadvertently created food reward systems, and we carry that with us as we grow up. So we've got to literally dismantle kind of all of that and no longer make food a nemesis. So again, the easiest way I have found to work with clients is to start one meal at a time. And I start with breakfast. And that's the only meal we change in the beginning. And it's a week to 2 weeks of consistently eating a certain level of macros. I don't count calories at all, but a certain level of macros, so that they can start to feel what it's like when their meals are balanced, so that they can start to feel the shift in energy. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually around day 3 or 4, because you probably get this a lot too. Oh, I don't eat breakfast. I haven't eaten breakfast for years. Well, we're going to change that, and here's why. But it's usually about 3 or 4 days where there's a shift pretty quickly, because the body is looking for nutrition. It's looking for it in the morning. It needs it. You're setting the tone for your whole day energy-wise, and it shifts over really quickly. And by the second week, we've usually dialed in a pretty good pattern. I want people to get feeling better quicker. This shouldn't be a long, drawn out forever thing. It doesn't mean they're going to lose fat fast. That's not the goal. Took you a while to get here. It's going to take us a while, slow and steady. The whole focus is nutrient density to improve energy and all of your other systems.
Right. I like that. That's really good. What do you integrate? So let's say somebody comes to you, they're metabolically challenged, probably 15, 20, 30 pounds overweight. You start with that breakfast. Do you incorporate anything else? Do you maybe, start walking around the block, something like that to get them moving? Is there anything else that you try to do?
Yes, but it depends how overweight they are.
Yes.
Like when I've got somebody who's 80 pounds overweight and has a pretty high level of inflammation, has a high HbA1c, has high homocysteine markers, has gut dysbiosis. All of those things are going to have an impact on, again, what do we want to push on first? Because if I say go out and walk the block, they may not be able to. So how can we incorporate just more periodic movement? And I help clients understand a big difference between movement versus structured exercise, because they're not the same.
Right.
So maybe for them, it's a matter of being able to walking down the hallway, up and down the hallway at work. So if you're sitting, and I have them set a timer on their phone. If you've been sitting for 90 minutes, you've got to get up and walk down and back before you get back to work. And it's not to the treat station. It's actually very specifically designed to get you moving.
Yeah, right. But all of it sounds like it's baby steps, because if you set it too high too fast, they won't do it.
They won't do it, and then it's this, I'm a failure.
Right.
I can't I can't do it. And we just have to unlearn some of the things that we've inadvertently learned, or the ruts, we get into a rut that have become a hardwired habit. And the only way to really do that is kind of deliberate, consistent attention to it, so that while it's now rewritten in the pattern, we start to bring in the next thing and then the next thing.
I think we're at a point where I want to ask this question is, what is, kind of unpack this idea that the myth of eating less and exercising more is a good strategy, because it's what you say is it's a flawed strategy, and I'd love to hear more about that.
So I think it depends. There are certainly studies that have been done about slowing your metabolism so much, right, that you can live X amount of time. And those people are taking in like 500, 600, 700 calories a day, but they have very little muscle mass and they don't do much. The whole goal is just, how long can I live? Yeah. And that's okay if that's what you want. But it's not for most of us. And I think there's a number of things that we have to look at. There is an age factor. There is a hormone optimization factor. All of these things make a difference. There's lifestyle and culture. The other thing is understanding your phenotype. So when I look at all of the hereditary markers that I've tested so far, as well as I keep an eye on, the labs, because that's a true test of, regardless of how good I think I'm eating, what does the blood work show? Right. Exactly. That matters. My body personally does not do well with caloric restriction. For me to maintain the lean mass that I like, which I like a slightly more muscular physique on myself, I have to exercise it and eat appropriately. When I restrict calories, it doesn't work for me. I have to get in the amount of nutrients and macro components on a daily basis. But at the same time, I play with this metabolic flexibility. So some days I'll eat 3,000 calories. Some days I'll eat 1,500. My exercise remains pretty much consistent, and I don't exercise like crazy, not like I used to. Oh my God. Calories in, calories out. Gonna eat the chocolate cake, gonna go to the gym for 3 hours.
But you were bodybuilding then, right? So
yes.
Yeah, that's a whole different world.
And now I want to exercise as little as needed to maintain the physique that I like, and as much as I enjoy.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, my son actually called me in the middle of this podcast.
Oh, that's okay.
That I normally don't have my phone with me, but I'm using it for notes. So so I apologize.
That's okay.
Well, that's really cool. There's another point that I want to bring up that in our research that you're really good on. It's like you talk about how to take ownership of your health and make lasting changes. So far we've talked about, how do I get change in metabolic health, and your approach to that, which is really a great approach. How do you make it last? To get the the lasting changes you're looking for, but also that take ownership piece is interesting, because we are conditioned in this country to only do what insurance will pay for. And I don't understand why people outsource their $1 billion asset for what an insurance company says they'll pay for. I don't get it, but I understand it's conditioning and it's culture.
It is. And you add in the fact that we weren't taught how our bodies work.
Yeah, right. It goes back to your original statement.
We weren't taught, so we don't understand. It's just like when you're a teenager and you need to sleep a lot. Teenagers need a lot of sleep, just like babies need a lot of sleep. We never tried babies for needing sleep, right? Because we know it helps them grow. Right. Teenagers need a lot of sleep. Yet as we get older, we tend to value sleep less and less. And we don't understand that you can't bank sleep. It's not like fat. You can't bank it. You can't just work yourself to death during the week and think you're going to catch up on the weekend.
No,
it doesn't work that way as you get older.
Right. Yeah.
At all. I think the ownership and responsibility piece is when I'm working with clients, we don't have good and bad food. We don't have right and wrong. Mm-hmm. What we have is, and what I try to teach them is we have things that are nutrients that we're going to put in, and we have things that are non-nutrients. And that way there's not oh, I cheated. Oh, I wasn't very good. It's like, no, you actually made a choice. And what we want to be able to do so that it's long-term is, and I had a client last week who she loves to go out to brunch with her girlfriends, and they do it 2 to 3 times a month. It's a very important part of her social life.
Sure.
So now, and they went to a place this last week, and she loves the waffles they have there. So she's been making great progress, and the waffle was something she's like, oh gosh, I haven't had one in a really long time. So she ordered the waffle, but she ordered her eggs, and she ordered some more meat. She didn't drink the mimosa.
Yep.
And she ate a quarter of the waffle, and she enjoyed
huge progress. Yeah.
She enjoyed it, but she was able to balance out because she now has a better understanding of macros, nutrients, non-nutrients, what sugar and carbs do, and how to try and balance out, which is bringing your protein and your fat.
Yeah.
So this becomes more sustainable, and the more you do it, there's a physiological response to it. Our bodies want nutrients.
Yeah, right.
And when you start putting them in, it's crazy that you'll wake up and it's like, wow, I really want some eggs, because it happens.
I know. That's what my breakfast is. Our doctors have us on these awful shakes, and they're a detox shake, and they've got a lot of really great things in them, and including an egg. And everybody says, they hold their nose when they drink it, but they said we feel so good, that we're compelled to do it. And so I know what you're saying is it actually feels good to eat good. And when you start down that journey, what will happen, like your friend there, or that one of your clients, was now when I have stuff I used to eat regularly, I actually feel so bad after it that my desire for it and my cravings are progressively going away.
Yes.
For me, this is 7-8 years ago. I've been on, obviously I own a company in this space, so I have to live the brand. So I've been doing it for almost a decade now. And I'll tell you, the payoff is, it sounds like you do genetics and you do full, functional panels. You're looking at gut biome. So you're really doing it right.
Well, because I want it to last. Right. If you start to make these changes and your motility sucks, right, it creates its own host of issues. If the food and the stuff that you process in your body can't eliminate in a reasonable time frame, there's still an issue. So all of those things matter. And what I love, it's the aha when clients. I had another client. This was great. So she tried, I don't know how many diets. She was premenopause. No, she was postmenopause. And she had tried, like many women, dozens and dozens of diets, now 30, 40 pounds overweight, and had reached a point where, with confusing information, it's like, okay, well, I need pasta, I need all these veggies. The amount of stuff that she was taking in, not protein, not fat. Oh. Because of all the confusion around meat, is it good? Eggs, are they good? Fat's bad for you, right? Understanding all this. But she was always so drained that every single day, cookies and cake in the afternoon.
Yep.
Every single day, like
just to
years.
Get the afternoon, right? Yep.
Years. And she would go to one Zumba class a week to be with her girlfriends, but it would take her a week to recover.
Wow.
2 weeks. Bringing in breakfast and shifting out. And within the first week, she ate no sweets at all. And all we did was shift breakfast.
Yep.
Second week, she was craving eggs. She's like, I can't believe it. And her husband was like, don't you want to go? They were going to go out to their favorite dessert place. And she goes, no, I don't want it. There's no cravings. That's cool. Another thing. people don't understand. When you eat your meals in balance, you don't crave.
No, you're actually not as hungry as you used to be either. You just know you need to eat. Right. Yeah. That's really cool. Well, you know what I like what you're doing is every person's an individual. You're not putting them in a box when they come in. You're actually interviewing them, finding out their lifestyle, what's important to them, testing them, knowing how they're made. That's the genetic piece, the inherited piece. You have to work with that. Like for me, I don't metabolize starch. And as soon as we learned that, I was able to cure acid reflux, 25 years of reflux.
I bet.
It went away.
Isn't that just crazy? Just that little piece of information and you take it out and your health elevates so much.
Yeah. Well, my inflammation dropped 600%. My leaky gut healed. And my biome balanced just by taking starch out. Now it was hard. I lost a little, I'm a tall, thin guy and I lost more weight initially.
Yeah.
That's all right. I learned how to do the protein and the good fats and I've been able to try to start putting it back on.
Yeah.
But that was a good trade-off. But now, no medicine now for like 6 years for that.
Good for you.
I don't even use Tums and I don't ever have those problems anymore. That was all from knowing how my body's made and then working with it. And you're doing the same thing. And the big thing I want to tell people just to motivate them to explore talking with Rene is that for me, I come from a family where my father is still alive. He's a GM retiree. Me and you are both from Michigan, so we get this. And had his first heart attack in his mid-50s. He's had 9. He's 83 now.
Wow.
The sick care system has kept him alive because of stents and surgeries.
Yep.
Had a stroke, has had a couple bouts of cancer. He doesn't mind me sharing this stuff because he knows it helps me make a point.
Yep.
I'm 61 in March, and I have zero blockage. I've done the most advanced scan you can do in the world, the Clearly scan. I've done all kinds of testing, and I don't have any of those issues, yet I have the same genetics as my dad has. I have very similar predispositions for cardiovascular disease. And so you can literally re-engineer your narrative in the future.
Yes, you can. And I have a similar background. So on my mom's side of the family, my grandmother, my grandfather, their siblings, my mom and her siblings, and my own brother all have cardiovascular disease, and they either had multiple incidents or they're dead as a result of it. Hypercholesteremia. My own brother had 2 heart attacks before the age of 50. So even though I wasn't having any indication and I had a pretty healthy lifestyle, I'm like, well, I need to know. And I did the calcium score test, but then I also did the CCTA. And the good news is that with the calcium score, it was very low, but that does mean there's something there. With the CCTA, there was no soft plaque residue at all, which is why I'm very curious about the microvascular testing. But I did get tested, and genetically, I have a high LP. I have genetic LP little a.
Yeah.
But this is, again, one of those markers that it's important to know, because that's not fixed by statins. All my other relatives who were put on statins and all these other meds, they never got better.
No, they just managed the condition. That's all it is, right?
So I'm using the specific type of medication that is needed for Lp(a), which is not a statin, that not only brought it right to where range is, all the numbers are good. And now I'm working on a level of prevention. And all of this testing is available if you've got sick care. It's available. You can get it tested, your CCTA, your LPA, your ApoB. ApoB, we know that we can at least impact that through some dietary changes.
Yep.
And why wouldn't you want to know? If cardiovascular, it takes decades for cardiovascular incidents to develop. So if you know this when you're in your 20s, why wouldn't you start then?
Right. And if you're in your 50s and you're down that path, you can actually reverse it if you are serious about it.
You can.
And then what Rene mentioned about the vascular testing, I'm involved in a company that we are bringing to market a device that we hope to get approved by Medicare that will enable us to be in doctor's offices across the country, where it'll give you a vascular health score. And what was interesting, Renee, was mine was low normal, even though I'm doing everything else right and I have absolutely no blockage, but it was a precursor, and it doesn't surprise me given my family history and the genetics that I have. And what it did was it kicked me into a gear. There was a couple of areas where I was getting lazy, and it kicked me into gear, and I'm making changes in those areas. But another thing, 50% of the population have that MTFHR gene, which is the whole thing around methylation, dysregulation. And if you have that, you're at a higher risk for cancer. And there are strategies proactively that you can do to create an optimal environment in your body so that your immune system kills it off early. And there's a great book by Natasha Winter called
I met Dr. Winter.
Yeah, we believe in that book, and so I'm following what she says in that book. Doing detox, my gut's balanced, and I'm eating pretty much ketogenic because I have to because of my genetics, and limiting my sugar intake to 25 grams or less a day. The thing that I got to watch that's harder is the carbs. Even though I can't have starch, there's things that have carbs in it that are gluten-free that can catch you with too many carbs. Yeah. But the point, my whole point, and I think what you're saying, Renee, is knowledge is power, and then you can start being proactive. And it's the long game.
It is the long game, and the average person, and not everybody has the time to accumulate the information you have or that I have. Right. And that's where finding someone who can start to help you right now, turn things around right now, so that you don't have to go learn all this. The amount of data and studies that you go through, I'm sure, is astronomical while you're sifting through. And things do change because we get better science, or we get ability to test things that we couldn't before. Remember, since you mentioned Dr. Winter, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, over a decade ago, authored that book, Cancer is a Metabolic Disease, but he didn't have clinical data. And the medical industry was not happy with him, or the money-making side of that was not happy with him. They've now proven it. There are genetic markers, but what you do switches the epigenetic components on. So we do have the ability, even with hereditary factors, to activate, deactivate, sublimate, all these different things. And so much of it is based on what we put in our mouth. And we are in charge of that. We are empowered to do that. We shouldn't feel guilty about it. You want to have a donut? Go have a donut. Just have some eggs and something else to try and balance it out, and don't have it every single day.
Right, exactly. Yep. Well, Renee, it was really fun having you on. And how can people get a hold of you? Because what'll happen is you'll verbalize this, and our team will get it in the show notes, and it'll be there for people easily to access. Is there anything you want to share with people about how to get a hold of you, or how you take people in, consult, anything like that? Go ahead and share it now.
Sure. The easiest way to get a hold of me is to just go to renecaruso.life. That's my website. On Instagram, I'm Rene Caruso. On Facebook, I'm Rene Caruso. Just Google me, you'll find me. I can help men, women, people with eating disorders, people with type 2 diabetes, metabolic components, hormonal health, gut disruption. All my consultations initially are complimentary. So if you're somebody who just wants to even have a conversation about what's going on and see if you can get pointed in the right direction, go to my website, book a call with me, and I'd be delighted to talk with you.
And the website again is renecaruso.life.
Yep.
And it's ReneCaruso.
Yes. Only one E on the Rene.
Yes, that's right. Well, Renee, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here, and I hope we help a lot more people.
Thank you. Steve Adams here from Tiger Medical Institute talking about the True Health Assessment. What if you could safeguard not just your health, but the well-being of your entire family? With the True Health Assessment from Tiger Medical, you can. Our comprehensive blood screening identifies hidden risks before they become major issues. Our elite team of Mayo Clinic-trained and naturopathic physicians then create a customized plan to optimize your health for years to come. When you prioritize your wellness, you ensure you can be fully present for the people you love most. Don't let preventable issues cut that time short. For less than the cost of a daily latte, you can gain peace of mind and a clear path to sustained vitality. Protect your future and your family's future with True Health Assessment from Tiger Medical at thetruehealthassessment.com. Again, that's at thetruehealthassessment.com.